I sent this video to Warren Buffett the other day after he stopped me out of some trades, and this is what he replied to me with. So, the market's gonna humble you, and the market makers, if they exist, they don't care. Not one bit. I've got a couple stories I want to share that I think are really important about humbling and ego, as well as humility and the only way to grow, as well as some really interesting stories from some actual traders and some biblical stories as well that tie into this pretty well. I traded well this past week. I had my best week ever. I was winning a ton. Monday I had my best day ever. It's what led me to pass this account. Then this Sunday night, I lost a trade. Monday morning I lost a trade. And just now I lost a trade, but I did win a trade, making it back. A humbling experience to be on fire. This was my 5th green week in a row. And to then go on a losing streak, horribly humbling. But it's only humbling when you're trading with ego. An experience can only be humbling if you're not already humble. And that's why it's so important to have these experiences that do humble you, because you need it. If you're not trading in a humble manner, you need to be humbled, and that's what I was having the other day. I wasn't necessarily breaking rules, but my head was in the clouds. When you start winning a bunch and having these great green streaks, you start to think, wow, I've really got this down. Like, I know what I'm doing. And then you lose, and it's like, whoa, maybe I actually don't have this down the way I thought I did. That's where humility comes in, and that's the competitive advantage. I don't think there's any real market makers, but I do think and believe that the market is motivated by fear. It's motivated by uncertainty, motivated in a way that 90% of traders, especially day traders, are meant to lose. If you're quickly playing with your positions, it wants to scare you out. It wants to get you out. I mean, that's exactly how we move. And tariffs, back in January through April, when all of this tariff news was coming out, why was the market going down? Tariffs weren't even in play yet. We weren't even experiencing any sort of financial turmoil. But people were afraid. There was uncertainty in the air. They haven't even been implemented yet, but people were like, oh no, we're going to lose money. I'm scared we're going to lose money. And so they sold, and that's why the market went down. In those instances, fear motivated the market. And there's actually a really interesting story about Charlie Kirk. In that time, Charlie Kirk was a trader motivated by humility. He wasn't a day trader per se, but he was very wise in the financial market. And he made a very interesting decision that made him a lot of money. I was watching this clip with Graham Stephan the other day on his podcast. They were talking about all the tariff situations, and this was probably like a month before he passed away. In the midst of the tariff insanity, when we were breaking new lows every day, we were just plummeting in a free fall, and it was scary, and I was losing a ton of money. I wasn't selling anything. If I had money, I would have bought more. It was scary times. Charlie Kirk, with his massive portfolio, he made the decision to take all of his money out of NQ, out of S&P 500, and put it into Invesco QQQ. Invesco QQQ is NASDAQ with triple leverage. So when we were plummeting, when we were already pretty low, he decided to go in with 3x. Was that a decision he made out of fear, or was it based off of logical conclusions? In the podcast, he talked about several of his reasons. It was self-inflicted. Tariffs were a decision made by us. It was not a war. It was not any sort of pandemic. There was no disease. Countries were not turning on us. It was a self-inflicted decision, and with it being self-inflicted, it could very easily just be turned off. We will recover. This isn't the end of the world. This is a decision and a consequence of the decision that we can reverse and will likely reverse if the current party wants to stay in power to maintain popularity. Great decision making, and I'm sure he made millions from going in with triple leverage. I'm reading through the book of Job right now. It's a really good book. It's a book in the Bible. It's about this man. He's a very wealthy and righteous man. And although the entire story isn't completely related, there's a moment in the book where he says something that really stuck to me, and it's just the most beautiful attitude you can have towards any sort of trials, difficulties, and struggles. He's very wealthy. He's very righteous. In the first early chapters, they talk about his wealth. Very wealthy man. Then he loses everything. Kids, house, wealth, everything. He loses it all. All of it gets burned and destroyed. And for many chapters, he's discussing with his friends in this horrible suffering. Like, he lost everything, and he didn't do anything wrong. That's a very important part. He didn't do anything wrong in this whole story. The whole point of this suffering was to get closer to God in his relationship with God. A great quote from Kevin Larone is, "You don't meet God in a crowd. You meet him alone. When you're alone, when you're struggling, that's when you meet him." And that's exactly what this entire chapter embodies. When he's alone, when he has nothing, that's when he really strengthened his relationship with God. In his suffering, he says something which I love. I put it on my wall. It's Job 23:10. "When he has tried me, I shall come out as gold." The market is trying us every single day. Warren Buffett does not care what you think. He does not care about your stop loss. He doesn't even know you're trading. The market will humble you. The market will destroy you. It will wreck you. It will ruin your trades. It will smash your stop losses. It will erase your entire account without thinking twice. Through these trials, through these personal mistakes that you make, the only way to success and the fastest way to success is to have the exact attitude Job had. He didn't have a perfect attitude the entire time. But when he did have a good attitude, it was that he was going to come out undefeated. He was going to come out better. He was going to come out stronger. That is how you succeed in these markets. When you get humbled, when you trade in a manner that you shouldn't, when you reflect and you grow, that is how you succeed. Another great verse I have on my wall, Romans 5:3. "But we rejoice in our suffering, knowing suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope." This is a suffering experience. It's a very personalized journey, because you can't come into this only knowing the technicals and just killing it. You're going to have to really learn yourself. You're going to have to learn your cravings. You're going to have to learn when you're greedy, learn when you're afraid, learn when you're inclined to make poor emotional decisions. And that is something only you know. Only you know how you react to the market. Only you know when you will be humbled. And when you are humbled from your poor decisions, which I still make, that's when you learn. That's when you develop humility. And humility is the competitive advantage. Charlie Kirk wasn't afraid. He wasn't acting on emotion. He was acting with humility. And that's what made him so successful in his trading. I can't believe he did that. That's kind of insane to think. Charlie Kirk was out here making some of the craziest, best financial plays this year. What a play. Humbling is very important. And I don't think it ever ends either, because I think you develop with the market, and the capital you trade with changes, and your circumstances change around you, and you always need to be humbled in different manners. The market will always remind you that. It reminded me today. And I'm still on my journey, and I'm still growing, and hoping to continue to do well. This is my funded account. I'm still working on building it up. I want to go for building a nice drawdown, building a nice buffer, and then looking to withdraw a payout. So setting my sights far into the future, because I've become more confident in my strategy, confident in my methods. So I'm going to set my sights of getting paid far into the future and just do my best to follow my strategy and focus on the process, which is far easier said than done. I am humbled regularly, but I'm growing. Thank you for watching.